All right. Well, welcome everybody that's here for this interview with a dear friend and colleague that I've known for a while. How far do we go back, Susie?
I
It's
want to
been,
say 5 or 6 years.
yeah, it's been a minute. And
Yeah.
watching you unfold and do the work you've done has been really inspiring and refreshing. And our interview together and just the depth of your soul and your heart is really, really beautiful. And I know I'm really pleased that everybody can experience you in this intimate way to really feel that and to catch that you are, one of the good ones. You're one of the individuals that's doing the real work. And I'm really excited to take a few moments today to help my community get to know you a little better. So, what I wanted to start with that, and this is Susie Beiler, everybody. And if you don't already know, what I want to start, Susie, is just a little bit of an understanding of what got you here. I'm so interested in people's journeys. I always say the workshop we're living is the one we're meant to be giving.
Yeah.
And so I'm just curious to know what's been the workshop you've been living that got you to be so into developing soul purpose and the soul power mission. Like what got you here?
Yeah, so I'll start off with in my 20s, I was really sick. I was diagnosed with chronic fatigue syndrome, adrenal burnout, that whole thing. And I actually had a pretty miraculous awakening healing experience when I was 27. It was December 13th, 2004. So I just had my birthday.
Well, that's very similar to my age when I had my opening. Very
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah, so I was actually on an acupuncture table, and within a blink of an eye, I knew that I was healed.
Wow.
And that set me off in this whole different trajectory in my life. I was working as a pediatric occupational therapist at the time, and then it was like, oh, I have to like show people what's possible. And along with starting my own business pretty soon after that awakening experience, I also then went deep into my healing, rewiring my DNA, rewiring my nervous system, looking at all my beliefs. I grew up Christian, so I had this very, narrow view of the world and how everything worked, and just opening everything, going really deep within myself. And my nutrition practice turned into a spiritual, coaching, I guess, guidance, spiritual guidance practice, what I do now. And just that soul, I know that in that moment of my awakening, my soul was like, hey, I got to get your attention.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
So you would say, I always see that it's interesting that yes, we are driven by our passion. There's no doubt. But when I've studied the lives of many, many people, myself and my clients and my community, and the great teachers and leaders throughout history, it does seem almost to a person that what starts before the passion is the pain,
Yeah.
and that the pain pushes until the vision pulls,
Yeah.
and that there's what we might call our core wound really is a core initiation or a soul initiation. And so and also the wounded healer is a very common archetype,
Yeah.
right?
Yes. Very
So
common.
I'm curious if there's, been any other like insights you've had into why you think it is. First of all, why you think it is that it seems to be that pain and problems and crises, health crises, financial crises, family seem to be the reason why seem to be the way by which we are, called,
Yeah.
and why it has to be that way. In drama, there's the call and there's the refusal of the call, and then there's eventually the answer of the call.
Yeah.
And it's almost like we get the call and we kind of refuse it early on, and then eventually it gets too painful and we answer it. But I'm just curious, what's your perception about what it is, why it is we're called through pain and suffering and problems and challenges, and what for you was one or two of the most important ways to hold that so that you could transmute and transform and alchemize that pain into your soul purpose.
Ooh, okay. That's a lot all at once. All right.
Just a little question there, just a
Yeah.
little. About 30 seconds, go. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. I, you know, when we're born into this life, we go through a forgetting. So we forget that we're divine. We forget that we have the spark of God within us, that we are the spark of God. We forget all of that. And so when the voice of our soul starts to whisper, we don't hear it. So it usually, for most of us, it takes a bang over the head, a car accident, something significant to shake us out of our stupor and be like, hey, this is who you are. Remember, this is who you are. And so, unfortunately, because we're not taught by our parents how to listen to the voice of our soul, we don't recognize it when it speaks to us.
Mm.
And so it takes something significant to kind of shake us up. So we start to listen.
Yes.
And then what was the second part? How do I hold on to that?
The second part was how did you hold it and ultimately alchemize it, transmute it? But let's put that aside, because there's another question that I wanted to just you poke at that you said, which is, yeah, the soul's speaking to us. And I believe that's true, right? I believe it's always the broadcast of the divine is 24/7. It never goes off the air.
Yeah.
And it's like when you're in a dream and you hear the phone ring and you try to answer the phone in your dream, and no matter, it just keeps ringing, and then you wake up realizing it was the alarm going off. And so it gets interpreted as something other than what it is.
Right.
So I'm curious for you, if there's any other recollections of now in retrospect, what were some of the signs or the callings or the proddings that you didn't see then? And or what are some of the ways to identify that you are being touched or called or prodded by the soul and soul mission that might help people to start to be able to see it and look for it? Look for, like, where's Waldo? Look for the soul Waldo in the in our life.
Well, it's usually something pretty quiet. It's a nudge, it's an intuition, it's a feeling, it's something that we, again, because we're not taught to pay attention to those things, we kind of just let it slide, not realizing the importance of what it is. And so when I grew up Christian, and I gave my life to Jesus Christ 3 times. And I had a very deep relationship with God. It was personal. I wasn't just going through the motions. It was very real for me.
Yeah.
And so to answer that question, it's like, well, on one hand, it seems like maybe I got off track. But on the other hand, I look back and everything that I did in my life and the schooling that I went through in my initial career, that all serves a purpose now. Mm-hmm. So I don't feel like any of that was a mistake or a waste of time or something that wasn't supposed to be part of my experience this lifetime.
Yes. That's a really important point I think you're making. It's one of the things that I say too. Like I said in the beginning, that the workshop we're living is the one we're meant to be giving, that what appears to be loss, betrayal, defeat, as soon as you are willing to accept that all of life is conspiring for you and always has been, you can begin to see, like a great author or a great director of a great play, you can start to see all the clues to the play. You can start to see the deeper themes, and you can realize, oh, I'm not merely the character, I'm the actor. I'm not just the play, I'm the author. And just like any great play, there's trials and tribulations and agony and defeat, but it's all conspiring to develop the individual hero or heroine into what they need to be and to ultimately fulfill the mission. And I think it's true that it's always there for all of us. We haven't learned how to read the signs of what that is for our lives. Yeah. And now in retrospect, is there any other, you can see it's all fit together. I would even say, giving your life to Jesus 3 times, it's likely that's going to do something, right? There's a reason, like, it's not accidental that you were so connected and still are, I'm sure, maybe not in the typical religious way. Those are obvious signs, that deep yearning and burning and desire for connection. That's
that wanting to surrender to something greater than myself.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Exactly. And sometimes I think it's disguised as, we want to surrender. I mean, we give our lives, let's say, to a sport or to, a person, and that there's areas where that same deep devotion shows up. This is a slight sidebar, but not really, in Nietzsche, he talked about, in I forget which story it was, he said, there's an old man that comes into the center of town after the Enlightenment has happened, and he said, God is dead. We've killed God. And Nietzsche said that from that point on, we would forever be trying to fill that, he didn't say it in these words, but that God-sized hole, making gods and religions of all kinds of things other than God, right? And it sounds like, you luckily made God God, as opposed to maybe making, technology or money or something else. Was there any other sign, or as in retrospect, you can see how things were perfect, or how what looked like a bad thing was conspiring for your good, other than the obvious sickness? Anything else that people could help so they can kind of look at their own life
Yeah.
and go,
Yeah,
huh,
for
I
sure.
never thought of it like that.
I would look at things that happened in my life before my awakening, even, and I would always have this sense like it's for a reason. There's something that greater that's supposed to come out of this.
You
And
always had that. So you had that mindset kind of
I
early on.
did. Yeah,
Mhm.
when I was 14, 15, I went through this crazy experience with my hormones got all whacked out, and I would wake up like almost in a panic attack, and I would have like 10 days out of the month where I was just wonky and just anxious, and I remember, like, I would go to bed at night and I would say, God, just please take me. I don't want to do this. This is really hard. I don't want to do this. And in the same thought, I would also have this knowing, okay, this is for a reason. There's a reason I'm going through this. There's something about this that I don't understand right now, but there's a reason for it. And I would have that knowing, and that kept me going. Even though I didn't understand it, it sucked, it was horrible. I'm like a teenager. My friends don't understand what's going on. My parents can't figure out what's going on. No one knows what's going on, myself included. But deep within me, there was just this little something like, okay, I know that this is for a reason.
Yeah. So you had already been touched by grace early on, and that's a note, that's a tool.
Yeah.
I always say that everything is perspective. The kingdom of God is at hand. Life is beautiful. Life is magnificent. All needs are met, but it depends on where you're standing and where you're looking. So it's all perspective. And
Right.
so you're describing a mental, emotional perspective, which is, I'm going to stand over here from the point of view of everything is happening for a reason. Because if you stand from the everything is happening for a reason perspective, you see things differently. And
True.
as thou seest, so thou beest, right? So it changes what becomes available to you,
Mm.
right? So I think that's a beautiful tool I want people to take note of. And it's very clear why you are a soul whisperer, right? Because
Yeah.
you've been on this journey wrestling with your soul, but having the courage and the commitment to keep saying it's like that funny joke of, there's a kid and he's just playing all in this horse poop in a barn, just playing all in it. And the dad comes in, he's like, what in the world are you doing, Billy? And he's like, Dad, with all this horse poop, there's got to be a pony in here somewhere, right? So it's the same thing, right? You've been wrestling with
Yeah.
turning that poop into fertilizer, and
Yeah.
really wrestling with the soil of your soul, and you're a soul whisperer. It makes a lot of sense now. So I'm curious. So you've been on this journey, you've been wrestling with that perspective. There's got to be a pony in here somewhere. There's got to be some good in here somewhere. There's got to be a God in here somewhere. There's got to be purpose, meaning, reason. Um, you know, there's got to be. And you've been just kind of, so you've developed a lot of acuity and perspective on that. And it's caused you to now be committed and come out with this soul purpose, soul power symposium.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, like, tell me a little bit more about that. Like, what is that? And why are you doing it now?
Yeah. This is a forum to help people understand the voice of their soul, to help people be activated into living their soul mission, to understanding what their soul mission is, to start living their life purpose. Because you and I both know we're at a critical point in time right now on the planet, and we need everyone who is willing to say, yes, I will step into my mission. I will start living it more and more every day. And I had this vision last year of, or maybe it was the beginning of this year. I had this vision of there was this grid, there was this network around planet Earth, and these lights started to pop on within this grid. And I was like, I was asking my guidance, I'm like, what is this? What am I seeing?
Yeah.
And they were saying, these are people's souls who are lighting up. These people are lighting up. And I was like, well, how do I participate in this? How do I help this? What do I do? And then the Soul Power Symposium was born. Gather together
I've seen
people.
that vision, by the way. So it's a real vision, folks. Yeah, it's
Yes.
happening.
Awesome. We're like soul brother and sister. I felt it for a long time. That's
Totally.
so beautiful, Derek. Yeah, so I just said yes, I'll be of service. Show me what to do, show me how to do it. And so I gathered people who were willing to be in service with me. And here we are, we're on season 2. And I'm so grateful that you said yes to play with me and to serve with me, because this for me, it's more than a passion. It's this internal drive that I cannot explain. It's a calling. It's something greater than me. And I just have to say yes. I have to do it.
Yes. So the Soul Power Symposium is about really helping facilitate turning on the souls, lighting up those individual, getting people connected to their soul, getting their light turned on, throwing that switch, so to speak.
Yeah.
And is there any what specifically have you already seen in terms of the benefits of it? And like, what are a few ways you're going to do that with people, and have you seen are some of the greatest benefits to them, to the world, et cetera, as a result of this work that you're doing?
Yeah. People are getting inspired and they're getting energized, juiced up. So many people feel like they're alone out there. But when they come to the symposium, there's a sense of family. You're coming together with your soul family. And even if you're not watching it with somebody, you're still creating that energetic connection with everyone else who's watching. And so there's this momentum that's created. There's an inspiration. Okay, what can I do? How can I live my soul mission? What can I put in place for my life? Oh, that nudge that I felt the other day, that was actually my soul speaking to me. Now I understand. Now I get it. Now when I hear those things or feel those things, I can follow that and do something about it and take an inspired action. One of the beautiful things that I love so much about all my beautiful presenters who have come to collaborate is that each one is sharing a process or a healing or an activation. They're sharing something to help every participant take that next step on their own soul journey. And everyone has a different flavor. And that's what I love. It's like, well, the people who are drawn to me are going to come to me, right? But the people who need what Derek has to say, they're going to come to you. The people who need to hear what someone else has to say, they're going to go to them. And so it's so well rounded. Everyone gets, some piece of resonance with all the
Yes.
speakers. And I love that part because, I can't do it all. And I don't aspire to do it all.
That's beautiful. It's also really beautiful to get a lot of different perspectives on a singular topic, so like to be able to see and understand the soul and soul power and soul purpose from multiple directions, right?
Yeah.
It's like, the blind men and the elephant, right? They're all blind, and they're feeling different parts of the elephant. And they're like, it's a tree trunk, it's a rope,
Yep.
it's a cactus, whatever the different things are
Yeah.
they think it is. And then they're arguing over, no, it's not a tree trunk, it's a rope. No, it's not a rope. But actually they're all feeling different parts of a larger whole.
Yeah.
And so,
I love that part of
and
it.
we tend to be myopic, left to our own devices, stuck in our own echo chambers, just doing the same thing, looking at the same thing, but what I love about this is it's a deep dive, immersive experience around one of the most important topics, I believe. And it'll open up a lot of blind spots for people where they haven't been seeing what's possible for them, or where they hadn't even thought to think about it that way. And not just different answers, but different questions,
Yes.
right? Because the question is the key. If you're asking different questions, the quest you're on, it changes your journey, right? So I love that about what you're doing. And the other thing I love, just being in your presence and feeling your soul, I
Mm.
feel uplifted. And so I know that when we come together in a community with common unity and shared values, where two or three are gathered together in agreement, there is an X factor that kicks in. And so I know for sure people are going to feel, just like on our call, there was an activation on
Yeah.
our, right? They're going to feel that activation.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm really excited about, because, it's working on them even when they're not working on themselves, just
Right.
by listening, by tuning into the frequency and the field that you're generating.
Yeah.
So I'm curious, and by the way, if there's anything else you want to say about that, feel free. But I'm supposed to be interviewing you, not talking, but I'm getting inspired and excited by talking about it. So they're like, Derek, shut up, let her talk. So what I'm curious about, though, also is what are like a few or one or two core things that you think are the most critical for people to understand, not only as they come into this Soul Power Symposium, but just in terms of their own journey of tapping into their
Yeah.
soul power, their soul purpose, and staying with it. Because we get inspired, then we go back home. People are going to get inspired right now, and then they're going to go to work or come back from lunch or whatever they're doing. And an hour later, they're like, what was I even inspired about? Life sucks. So what's a couple things that you can say to help people get more tapped in and tuned in, other than obviously join the Soul Power Symposium, people? There's a link under the video there, or there should be a link in your email. If you have any questions, email support. We'll make sure we get you the link, but join this, experience this beautiful soul here and all the other souls that are part of it. So that's step one. Do that first. Do it now, in fact. And then what else might be another one or two things that you would suggest
Yeah.
that you found are like, other than being part of this community, this experience, there's these one or two things that are critical to succeed in developing your soul power and purpose?
Yeah, I think the first thing to remember is that this is a journey, and this is actually a theme that came up in the symposium. As you go through it, you'll hear not all the speakers, but a lot of them touch on this. This is a journey, and so my suggestion is to approach this as a marathon, not a sprint. This is a lifelong thing you're embarking on, to listen to your soul, to follow your soul, to live your soul mission. This is a lifetime. This is not, okay, in the next 3 months, I'm going to buckle down, I'm going to get it done. Like, no, that's not how it works. If you want
I'm
to
sitting on my calendar right now, like 90-day plan, fully realize and achieve my soul purpose. Check. Let's get on to the next thing.
it's like anything else in life. If you want to be healthy, you have to eat well. You go to the gym, you work out, whatever, however you do that. But it's a lifelong commitment. It's not something like, oh, I'm going to cleanse for a week and then I'll be good to go and I can go back eating Wendy's and McDonald's.
Right.
No, you all know it doesn't work that way. So it's the same thing with living your soul mission. This is a journey and it takes a deep commitment because, as you know, life still happens. The crap still happens. The things we have to face in this third dimensional reality still happen. And so we have to really make that deep commitment and have the proper mindset going into it. I think that's a huge thing. And then we also touched on this. This was a theme that emerged. It's a muscle.
Mhm.
Yes, it's a journey, and you develop your muscles. So you take the tools that we give you in the symposium, you work with them, you start developing your muscles, and
Yeah.
you keep developing your muscles. Again, it's not like, oh, I'm enlightened now, I get to rest on my laurels and life is great and always good. No. There's always more growth. There's always more expansion. There's always more to understand about your soul. Your journey can take many twists and turns. So you want to gather as many tools as work for you and work with those tools over and over and over.
Yes, that's beautiful. Yeah, there's a quote, in the Bible by Jesus that says, foxes have holes and birds have nests, but there's no place for man to rest his head until he rests in thee. Meaning, in the divine is where you find rest, not in this world or in the activities. Like there's no end game.
Yeah.
And that is the difference.
Surrender piece. That's
What's that?
that surrender piece. That's
Yeah. It's
that's
an
another
ongoing.
one. Yeah.
So surrender. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like surrendering to your soul every day, surrendering to the divine every day, making that a practice. It's
Yes.
not like, oh, I've learned how to surrender now. No,
Right.
it's still a practice. There's
Take
always
back control now. I learned how to surrender. Right. That's an oxymoron if there ever was one. So yeah, and then you talked about, a lifestyle, building habits. And what I love about your symposium and all the different people you have in there, and that where every time somebody shows up, like you said, it's like building a muscle. It's like they're going to their soul training and they're working out, they're doing some reps, right? And they're learning a strategy, an application, something to do. And by doing it over a period of time, they will build new mental, emotional, and perhaps even physical habits.
yeah.
And what
New
I teach,
pathways.
new neural pathways, exactly, literally
Yeah.
rewiring their nervous system. And habits is everything. Your conditions don't determine your destiny, your character does. And your character is made of habits. And as Confucius said, all men are alike, but it is their habits that separate them.
Mm.
So he would have said women too. He was speaking in the general thing. But so yeah, that's another really important thing about what you're doing and providing a structure for people to show up, to be inspired, to get something they can take away and do, and actually come out of it, not merely, ooh, I learned this and that and everything, but actually being recalibrated and being somewhat transformed and embodied in a new habit. And
Yes.
that's an investment in your life that pays returns, right?
Yes.
So that's very, very exciting. And so I'm curious also what else that you like, what is it about your life now or how you've grown, something else that you haven't already shared for why you're still so passionate and so dedicated? And what is it that you're doing on a daily basis that keeps you motivated or that keeps building your habits and practices? Give us a little
Yeah.
glimpse into how the Soul Whisperer does it on a daily basis.
I love this title, by the way. I've never called myself that, but I'm totally receiving that. I love it. Thank you. Yeah, I live a pretty disciplined life, and I give myself a lot of self-love, a lot of self-nourishment. So I'm a deeply sensitive being. So I take really good care of my body, my emotional field, my spirit. I meditate every morning. I do cold plunges. Yes. I just got this little tub I put outside and I go out there in the morning when I wake up. Um, the biggest thing for me, Derek, is managing my thought life. Like that's right now, that's my area of focus for my discipline, managing my thoughts. And it is very interesting to observe myself and how I get carried away in certain thought streams and like bring myself back.
Mm,
Yeah.
yeah. So that's a really good. And do you find that the more you've had a meditation practice and a mindfulness practice, it's given you a bit of the space you need to be able to observe your thoughts, catch yourself, because that's what you're doing in meditation, mindfulness. You wander off, you bring the puppy back, sit, wanders off, sit, and you
Yeah.
throw it out the window a couple of times, but it comes around.
Yeah.
Uh, and so, yeah, you've been training yourself to have a degree of,
Yes.
metacognition and a degree of dominion over your attention so
Yeah.
that in a moment by moment basis through the day, you wake up, you wake up spontaneously. Oh, look at where I was. Come back, right? So that's really important practice. So the meditation, mindfulness, developing the awareness, and then having, is there any other thing you do or have done that allows you throughout the day? Maybe you don't do it now and you're not aware of it, but that allows you to be aware of your thoughts and where your attention is going. Is it just, I'm sure it's automatic to some degree, but is there anything else you do
There's so
to,
much. There's so much, the food that I eat, staying hydrated. All of these things are part of mastering the body. which
Mhm.
helps you master the mind. All of these things are part of, discipline and mastery. It's all one thing. So I do so many little things like that throughout the day.
Yeah,
I
I'm
I
sure.
listen I listen to my body. What is my body doing? What does she have to say? What does she need?
So when do you listen to your body? Like, do you do it like once a day, or do you every hour or two stop and kind of
All the
check
time.
in?
All the
All
time. All the time. As I'm speaking with you, I'm really excited. I'm so passionate about what I'm talking about. My body's vibrating. I'm like, okay, breathe, ground. Like all of this is happening simultaneously.
the
We learn how to do many things at once.
Yes, so that's great. So I think one good trick for people, if people are still looking for a trick, you're going to get lots of strategies and things. So make sure click the link below the video or in your email, and you will have made a very important investment in developing these habits and practices, and ultimately building the inner scaffolding and the inner structures to access more of your soul, building a direct channel or digging a deeper well to that source of our inspiration and all of that.
Yeah.
But definitely one of the things people can do, I know I used to do it, is I would set a timer to stop, to go off every hour. And it would just remind me, oh, check in, right?
Ooh, I was
Yeah.
literally just going to say that.
Yeah. That's why I said it for you. See, we're doing our ice baths, our poly breathing. We're setting off timers to check in. Yeah.
Yeah.
Call it the 1 minute mystic. So it's like just stop for a minute, 30 seconds, 10 seconds even.
Some deep breathing.
Breathe.
Close your
Yeah.
eyes. Yeah.
You can also set your Apple Watch. It's not an ad for Apple,
That
but you
works.
can set that to have the Breathe app goes off every hour and tells me to breathe.
That
So
works.
yeah, that's great. Is there anything else that you want to share with people, that maybe a question I haven't asked, a question you want to answer, to both give people something right now to go away and do, other than click the link below the video and join your symposium?
Yeah.
um, or anything else, like for people that are struggling? I think, like, what I know, and I'm sure like you said, this is hard.
Yeah.
Anybody that tells you it's easy, 7 days to seven figures, or 3 months to fulfilling your soul purpose and becoming enlightened, and meditating like Buddha, or something, right? Just get this app, and in 60 days, you too will be meditating like Buddha. Um, and it's all nonsense. I'm just going to say it, and I've said it before. It's not true. I'm not saying these things don't have value. You can't get tools and all of that, but it is a lifelong journey. It's a transformation of our character and our nature. But and so people that are on this journey, that are listening right now, and they're like, but I've tried so many things, and
Yeah.
I'm tired of being disappointed, or it's so hard, or I'm a single mother, or I'm, just got divorced, and I'm struggling financially, or my parents are sick or dying. Like, there's just too much. I can't, I don't know how to make time for myself, or I don't know how to prioritize this when I can barely pay my rent or whatever. They're struggling, and they've probably tried a lot of things. Is there anything else you can say that will give them encouragement, hope, an understanding of what's going on, so
Yeah. I
they
just
can move forward?
I just want to say, you have to make a decision. What are you committed to? Are you committed to going in circles and doing what you've been doing for the last 20 years? Are you committed to creating a new life for yourself? What is your commitment? And then decide. Make that decision. Okay, every day I'm going to do something a little different so I can start to rewire my brain. Every day I'm going to set my timer, make sure that my thoughts are aligned to where they're supposed to be. Set small steps, baby steps, so you can start making changes. And then those baby steps turn into momentum. And then bigger changes happen.
Yes.
But it starts with that commitment. You have to decide, this is what I'm doing. You have to make that decision and commit to it. And even if you've been doing it for 30 years and you don't like where it's gotten you, like I said in the beginning, this is a marathon, not a sprint. The journey continues. So you have to decide and commit every day.
Yes.
And it's possible. Like I've been at this for 18 years now in a conscious way. And I feel like I'm really just at the beginning of what's possible for me, you know? So I hope that the Soul Power Symposium, I know it will. I know it will show you what's possible for yourself. And then it's up to you to decide
Yeah.
and make the commitment.
Beautiful. Yeah, that's a beautiful place to stop, which is, and I say this too. I mean, commitment, the famous Goethe, poem or couplet, once you commit, then providence moves and all manner of seen and unseen forces come to your aid. It says, but it's after you commit, not before, right? The meal doesn't cook in your crock pot until you commit that lid and you lock it down and the pressure starts to build. And I'd like to remind people that saying I'm 99% committed is called not committed.
Right.
It's 100%. It's otherwise it's like the lid's open and the steam is releasing and nothing's cooking. And so this is a great way to start that commitment. Click on the link below the video, click on the link in your email, and you're putting yourself in an environment. Hopefully, you know by now, having spent this short time with Susie, that she's a soul whisperer and that she's passionate and that she's no bullshit, that she's going to support you, that I can already tell she cares more about your growth and success than she does even about you liking her or, whatever, because she's just telling you straight, you got to commit and you got to make a decision. And that comes from a word that means to cut away from. You can't keep holding on to everything. You have to cut away from the old story. It's hard. Yeah, but cut, decide. You have two choices: choose life or don't choose life, which is choosing death and stagnation. And you have to choose that.
Can I jump in and share something really real right now? I think this might help people. Recently, within the past 4 months, I ended my partnership because it wasn't supporting my soul mission. And I've lost a really good friend, one of my best friends of 5 years, because it wasn't supporting my soul mission. So talking about cutting things away, like this is the real part of the journey. This is the stuff that happens in life. And it's okay because now these greater things are realigning for my life and my mission to be able to bring that deeper support for me because I'm all in.
Yes.
I'm all in. And that's what it can look like to be all in. You might lose friends, you might lose your job, you might have to move out of your home, whatever it is.
Totally. So what I'm hearing you say is,
supported.
so those of you that are listening, leave that jerk, kick that friend to the curb, quit your job, and join the Soul Power Symposium. I totally understand too, because I went through the exact same experience. By the way, you've heard my story and you've all heard my many trials and tribulations and these demarcation moments where you have to choose yourself. You have to choose your soul over convenience, comfort, being liked, short-term safety and security. You have to be willing, again, as this dude a couple thousand years ago said, if you try to save your life, you'll lose it. But if you're willing to lose it for my sake, you'll have life eternal. He wasn't talking about for the sake of Jesus, the man. He was talking about for the sake of your soul. If you're willing to let go for the sake of your soul, like the acorn is willing to surrender its protective shell and its whole identity. For what? For the sake of the oak. It's the pattern of its soul. And then what happens? That little seed that's squirrel food otherwise becomes this mighty oak that provides food for all the squirrels and a nest for all the birds and shade for us and so much majesty. That's what is in you. That's what is in us. And that's what Susie's going to help you tap into more and allow that to begin to emerge in your life. So click on the link below. Make the commitment to yourself. You're not making it to Susie or me. You're making it to yourself. You're making a decision that you matter more than your story, that your future and what's in you, the potential in you is infinitely greater than whatever problem you're facing. Stop telling your little God about your big problems and start telling those puny little problems about your big God, and step into that soul power today by joining the Soul Power Symposium and being with this beautiful soul whisperer. Thank you, Susie. I love you, my dear. It's really great to be with you. And I love you all that are listening. And what are you still doing here? Why didn't you click on that link and go join? And I'll see you all soon. I'll see you again soon too, Susie.
See you in the symposium.
Bye.